This has been one of those royal weeks where the contrast almost writes the story by itself. On one side, the working royal family appeared calm, visible, disciplined, and purposeful. The Prince and Princess of Wales were out in public, the King and Queen were carrying out duties, and the institution seemed determined to show steady service. On the other side, Prince Harry's visit to Britain became a swirl of confusion, security arguments, Buckingham Palace drama, a devastating court defeat, questions about Meghan's absence, and the overshadowing of the very causes he had come to promote. That contrast matters because it tells us where the monarchy is now. The royal family appears to have understood that the best answer to Sussex chaos is not another argument. It is work, it is visibility. It is showing the public what the institution does when it is not being dragged into personal grievance. And this week, the working royals were everywhere. Catherine, Princess of Wales, was seen in exactly the sort of setting where she is strongest, with children, with families, and with causes that connect to her own life experience. Her visit involving young patients, including children facing serious illness, carried extra weight because of her own cancer journey. Catherine does not need to over-explain that connection.
Yes.
About the Prince and Princess of Wales.
Let's start with the Prince and Princess of Wales. We've seen both of them. Catherine, in her element, we saw her engaging with children that are sick, which is really, we know that how strongly she feels about the Early Years Project, but in this particular case, it's Catherine engaging with not only children, but children, some of them dealing with cancer. So there you're ticking two boxes that are incredibly meaningful.
The public understands it. She has been through a dark period, and now she is using her return to shine light on others going through frightening times. That is one of the reasons her public reemergence has been so powerful. She has not turned her illness into a spectacle. She has not revealed every private detail. She has not used her diagnosis as a media product. Instead, she has shown enough to reassure people, and then she has directed attention towards service. That is the difference between personal experience used with dignity and personal experience turned into public currency. The Three Peaks Challenge continued to generate goodwill for her as well. It was physically demanding, tied to the Royal Marsden, and clearly meaningful. She spoke at Wimbledon about the challenge, including the reality of being soaked through and pushing through difficult weather. Critics online tried to pick apart tiny details, even suggesting that clothing changes somehow meant the whole thing was staged. But anyone who understands the Three Peaks Challenge knows there is travel between locations, time in vehicles, and practical reasons to change clothes. The larger point was never the clothing. The point was that Catherine did something hard for a cause that matters to her, and the images around it felt authentic. The photos of William, the children, her parents, her brother, and the family dog waiting at the end created a powerful sense of ordinary family support inside an extraordinary royal life.
Multiple times this week, almost 30 engagements for the working royals this week. A little suspicious that they're out and about and keeping really busy, do you think?
The cynic in me would probably suggest it's been quite a good PR move to make sure that they're seen just getting on and doing the things, like we saw William at a Welsh language school in London the other day.
She was not posing as a celebrity. She looked like a mother being welcomed back by people who love her. That is why the images landed. They showed a family that feels rooted. William standing with the Middletons, the children embracing their mother, James Middleton present with the dog, everyone visibly proud. All of it reinforced a picture of stability. It is difficult not to compare that with Harry's fractured family world, where Meghan's relatives are largely absent, Harry's relationship with his own family is badly damaged, and even basic questions about whether he will see his father become public drama. The Princess of Wales at Wimbledon added another layer. Wimbledon is one of the easiest and most natural places for her to be seen. It connects tradition, sport, British culture, and her role as patron. Her informal appearance around the queue, the conversations about tennis, and the understated way she moved through the event all felt like Catherine in her element. It was public, but not overdone. Visible, but not theatrical. Queen Camilla also had a wholesome public moment connected to Winnie the Pooh, while King Charles appeared in military settings, including striking imagery around a tank. These may seem like separate engagements, but together they create a visual message. The monarchy is busy, stable, and carrying on. That message is especially important when Harry is in the country.
Well, obviously, we see the Princess of Wales there, backing up, following on from the Three Peaks Challenge, and she's still getting an awful lot of good news fallout from that. Because let's be honest, it's tough, and you know, there's nothing to her. I mean, but obviously she's now getting really fit.
Yeah.
And we know she's a tough cookie. She has to be. Given not from the physical side, but all the stuff she has to contend with gives her a mental fortitude. And
critics will say it was no accident that so many working royals were visible during a week dominated by Harry headlines. Perhaps there was a public relations calculation. If so, it was a sensible one. The royal family does not need to argue with Harry in order to answer him. It can answer him by doing the work. For American audiences especially, this contrast matters. If someone sees only the headlines about Harry and wonders why his father or brother will not simply meet him, the steady visibility of the working royals provides context. They are not hiding, they are not being petty. They are busy, they are supporting charities, representing causes, and fulfilling duties that are larger than one family dispute. That is the key difference. The working royals are doing work for other people. Harry's trip became about Harry, and it did not have to be that way. In theory, this could have been a redemption tour for Harry. He could have come to Britain quietly, focused on Scotty's little soldiers, Invictus, veterans, and children. He could have avoided public pressure on his family. He could have managed the visit with discipline, letting the causes take center stage. He could have allowed the public to see him in the role where he is strongest, connecting with service personnel, bereaved families, and people who admire his charitable work. Instead, the trip became a mess. The Buckingham Palace accommodation saga is one of the clearest examples.
Then the sort of Princess of Wales, which I thought was showing typically stoically British. Whatever the weather, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, talking about how she was soaked through her clothes when she was doing this
I
challenge.
imagine she had some good waterproof clothing. And then I saw something online about people saying, well, it must be fake because she's changing clothes. Well, the point of the Three Peak Challenge, you start in Scotland, you go to the Lake Districts, and then you end up at Snowdon. So you've got time in the car, and you get out to change clothing.
Right.
So it's nothing, you know,
According to the discussion, there had been an offer or possibility for Harry to stay at Buckingham Palace, but the details became confused. The palace reportedly needed an answer. Harry's side appeared to miss or reject the opportunity, then later tried to reverse course. The palace then said it was too late or not possible. Whatever the exact internal sequence, the public impression was terrible. Royal residences are not hotels. Buckingham Palace cannot simply open rooms at the last minute without planning. Security has to be arranged, staff have to be scheduled. If Meghan, Archie, Lilibet, and an entourage are supposedly coming, that requires one level of preparation. If Harry alone is coming, that requires another. The palace cannot function properly if the guest keeps changing the plan. And Harry should know that better than almost anyone. This is not a man unfamiliar with royal logistics. He was raised inside the system. He knows security, staff, protocols, gates, timing, and the difference between private family hospitality and institutional planning. That is why the confusion looked less like an innocent misunderstanding and more like another example of poor judgment. The security issue made it worse. Harry has argued for years that the United Kingdom is unsafe for him and his family without the level of protection he believes they require. No one should dismiss genuine security concerns.
Visually, they are dominating. And I mean, I know realistically, yes, we're going to talk about Harry. Everyone's talking about Harry. But the way that the royal family ups their game with service is impeccable.
And, you know, driving around in a tank, quite symbolic. if you think about it, particularly with if you
F around and find out.
And with sort of with Harry around, here am I.
Yeah.
Maybe just sort of thinking about it.
His profile, his military history, and his own public statements may create real risks. But the way the issue was handled in this trip undermined the seriousness of the argument. If safety is the priority, why brief so much of the trip? Why allow detailed speculation about whether Meghan and the children are coming? Why send itineraries to a select group of journalists? Why turn possible family logistics into a public story? If Harry and Meghan truly wanted a private visit to Britain, there were ways to make it quieter. A private arrival, a secure royal residence, a visit arranged directly with the King and Palace officials, minimal briefing, no public pressure, no constant drama. The royal family has enough resources and experience to manage discreet movements if the intentions are serious and the planning is clear. But that is not what happened. Instead, the story became a rolling public negotiation. Are they coming? Are they not coming? Will Meghan appear? Will the children come? Will they stay at Buckingham Palace? Will they go to Althorpe? Will the King see them? Has security changed? Has the Home Office changed its position? Has Harry accepted? Has Harry rejected? Has the palace refused? That is not privacy. That is narrative management. And it is one reason many commentators now doubt the sincerity of the reconciliation talk. If the purpose was truly healing, why was every step so noisy?
Why can't the King see Harry? Visually, it is great to see them busy working and doing things for causes that are for somebody else. Doing things that it's more than them. They're promoting cancer charities. They're promoting whatever, and so you can process. If you have common sense, you can process. Oh, they're busy.
Yeah,
they're just busy.
Well, the Three Peaks Challenge physically, I'd be very interested.
If the goal was a quiet family visit, why create so much media pressure? If the children were really being brought to see their grandfather, why let that possibility become part of a public tug-of-war? The Althorpe angle adds another complication. Harry may genuinely want his children to connect with Princess Diana's memory and the Spencer side of the family. That is understandable. But critics also point out the contradiction. Earl Spencer reportedly told Diana before her death that he could not provide the kind of security she wanted at Althorpe, yet now the estate is being discussed as a possible sanctuary for Harry, Meghan, and the children. If security is the central issue, then the public will naturally ask what makes one location safe and another unsafe. Again, the problem is not the desire to visit Diana's resting place. The problem is the public use of safety, family, memory, and royal access as overlapping arguments. Then came the court judgment. The timing could hardly have been worse for Harry. He was in Britain to promote causes and maintain public visibility, and suddenly the Associated Newspapers case landed like a bomb. Instead of a triumphant visit, he was facing a bruising legal defeat. Instead of claiming victory over the press, he had to absorb the reality that the court had not accepted the case in the way he hoped. If he had won even one significant point, the entire week.
And it shows what she is now, which presumably in a good place physically, and we did see more pictures were released of the children hugging her at the end.
The
greeting,
Middletons, yeah.
So, and you go holding hands and just looking pleased from mum, hugs from, just like it's so normal. Because there would have been so many other families doing exactly that, with family members who've completed the challenge.
I can't remember the last time I saw a picture of Prince Harry and Thomas Markle standing next to each other, but there's Prince William standing with the Middletons. They looked so united. It looked so wholesome. She's admiring her children in the photo.
Yeah, and James was there as well, and with the dog. So actually, you look at it and go, well, that's a proper family. That's what it was about. But actually, the seriousness of it is the benefiting the Royal Marsden and the cancer treatment in this country. And I imagine she has raised significant funds and hopefully will continue to be put to good use. So that was a really good...
It would have been framed differently. Harry could have said he had taken on the British press and been vindicated. He could have stood at Invictus events with a sense of victory. He could have used the result to reinforce his image as a crusader. But that is not what happened. The case failed, and the judgment was extensive. The judge's reasoning was detailed. This was not a casual dismissal, it was a serious legal analysis. According to the discussion, the judge criticized the way some evidence was presented and noted that Harry had strayed beyond the factual core of the case. That damaged the image Harry wanted to project. Most damaging of all, Harry responded by calling the result a whitewash. That word matters. It suggests that the process was not merely disappointing, but fundamentally compromised. And when a member of the royal family uses that kind of language about a senior court judgment, the issue becomes larger than one lawsuit. It becomes a question about Harry's relationship to the British justice system and, by extension, to the constitutional world his father represents. The courts operate in the name of the king. Harry may no longer be a working royal, but he is still the king's son. He still has titles. He is still linked to the monarchy. So when he publicly attacks the integrity of a judgment, the palace has reason to worry. This is why Buckingham Palace was right to be cautious about hosting him during that moment.
To his visit. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what you think, but I just think it is ridiculous his way he's behaved over this. Mm-hmm. There's no other, he can't sugarcoat it. Will I, won't I? 1 minute, you could stay at Buckingham Palace, but let us know. No, I won't. Oh, then he says yes, and then they go, too late, we can't just open up proceedings here.
Also, you said no. Mm-hmm. You know, like you rejected the offer. You released a hateful statement.
Yeah. Imagine if Harry had been staying inside Buckingham Palace and then issued a statement attacking the judgment from within a royal residence. Imagine if he had recorded a video with royal surroundings behind him. Imagine if the King's home had become the backdrop for Harry's argument that the court system had failed him. That would have been an institutional nightmare. So the palace closed the door. And in doing so, it may have prevented a far larger crisis. Harry's difficulty is that he seems unable to stop turning setbacks into battles. A more disciplined response would have been simple. Say he was disappointed. Say he would review the judgment, respect the court, and take time to reflect. Instead, he escalated emotionally. That escalation may please some supporters, but it risks alienating everyone else. Because at some point, if every institution that disagrees with Harry is portrayed as unfair, people stop seeing courage and start seeing denial. The legal costs now hang over the whole story. The source discussion referred to a possible overall cost around £50 million, split across claimants and affected by insurance. There may be hearings to determine final exposure. Insurance may cover part of the bill, but not necessarily all of it. If insurers question aspects of the case or the way it was brought, that could create further complications. Whatever the exact final number.
Said a million times, I'll believe it when I see it. You and I both stressed that Meghan was likely to never return. Looking at the way that it's unfolded, the very bizarre Buckingham Palace confirmation, Harry's staying there, 20 minutes later, Buckingham Palace going, just kidding, no he's not, absolutely not, and then giving us such severe details about that, which is rare for the never complain, never explain crew. What, as an observer...
The message is clear. This was an expensive fight. And Harry may not be in a position to absorb endless expensive fights. He and Meghan have a costly lifestyle. They live in Montecito. Security is expensive, legal cases are expensive, public relations are expensive, travel is expensive. Their commercial output has not produced the kind of continuing blockbuster success that Spare and the early Netflix documentary did. Meghan's lifestyle brand is trying to create a new lane, but it is not yet clear that it can carry the financial weight of their life. This is why legal defeat and brand pressure connect. If Harry is spending millions fighting the press, while Meghan is trying to sell a calmer, softer lifestyle image, the two projects clash. One is grievance and litigation, the other is domestic aspiration. They do not naturally support each other. Meghan's silence during Harry's difficult week became part of that tension. There were no obvious public displays of support. no visible appearance beside him during the most difficult London moments, no image of unity at Chatham House, no clear statement that she was standing with him through the defeat. Commentators immediately noticed, especially because Meghan has often been highly visible when the story is flattering or when her own presence drives attention. Again, no one outside the marriage knows the private reality.
Just a deflection. It's irrelevant to security.
Have you seen the crowds for him? They're small.
No, but forget that. Well, no, the security. He will have a degree of security.
Yes,
and people know. They know when he's in round. He's going to this event. You can be assured there would have been. They're not just going to leave him to fend for his own devices. That's why I absolutely won't hear the security excuse. If they wanted to, they would get on the plane. And
you're right. I mean,
and then they're going to go to.
But the optics are powerful. If Meghan attends Invictus later, people will ask whether she is supporting Harry or trying to rescue the image. If she stays away, people will ask whether she does not want to be associated with a defeated man. If she appears in Britain, after all, the security argument becomes more complicated. If she avoids Britain entirely, the question of whether she ever intended to return becomes louder. There is no clean move because the week has become so messy. Invictus is the biggest casualty of that mess. This week should have been about veterans. It should have been about the people preparing for the games. It should have been about courage, resilience, recovery, and service. Harry is at his best when he is focused on those people. He understands them, he connects with them, he can still be effective in that space when he is not surrounded by drama. But the story around Invictus has been swallowed by everything else. Where is Meghan? Did Harry meet his father? Did Buckingham Palace reject him? What happened with security? How bad is the court defeat? Will he appeal? Who pays the legal costs? What did the judge say? Why did Harry call it a whitewash? That is not fair to Invictus. The competitors deserve better than being background scenery in another Sussex drama. These are people who have served, suffered, adapted, and found purpose through sport. Their stories should not be overshadowed by whether Harry's wife appears in a white dress.
Protecting them. And now this is Harry's sanctuary. I mean, there's a contradiction there. It's why Diana was on a yacht with Dodi Al-Fayed, because her brother said, no, I logistically, I can't protect you and your family here. Harry would attract a similar amount of attention with Meghan Markle on that property. Has Earl Spencer enhanced security over there? I don't know. But you're absolutely right. I've become so entrenched in the Buckingham Palace drama on top of the court case.
Whether the palace is briefing against his version of events. The concern is that Meghan's presence when it happens can shift the focus. Reports around previous events have suggested last-minute changes, VIP arrangements, security complications, and media attention centered on her rather than the cause. Some of that may be exaggerated, but the public perception is strong. When Meghan arrives, the story becomes Meghan. For Invictus, that is risky. Harry may actually be more effective alone. Without the Sussex spectacle around him, he can focus on the veterans, he can interact naturally, he can let the competitors shine, the story becomes the cause again. That should be the priority. Next year's Invictus Games in Birmingham may create another dilemma for the royal family. Under normal circumstances, one might expect members of the royal family to support a major event, honoring wounded service personnel. The monarchy has deep connections to the armed forces. The King, Queen, Prince and Princess of Wales, Princess Anne, and the Edinburghs all have military associations or responsibilities. It would be natural for the family to support such an event. But because Harry is involved, the question becomes politically and emotionally loaded. If the King attends, does that look like support for Harry? If he does not attend, does that look like rejection of veterans? If William attends,
they could have come over. I'm sure if they were doing everything under the radar, they would have been given the resources, helicopters, whatever, to get where they needed to go. And instead, they have leaked every inch of the. I don't understand the leaking to the media every inch of the way is what makes me feel like this was never a sincere reconciliation attempt. That this was all to villainize the royal family yet again. And even when you read his statement, his defiant statement after his loss, you think this guy's out.
Does that suggest reconciliation? If no senior royals attend, does the cause suffer? This is the kind of trap Harry's public life now creates. A charity event becomes a family referendum, a military cause becomes a Sussex test. The royal family is forced to weigh the needs of the veterans against the risk of giving Harry new symbolic legitimacy. One possible solution is that the king or other royals attend in support of the competitors while making clear that the event is not about Harry. That would require careful choreography. It may mean no stage reunion, no emotional photo opportunity, no implication that the family feud has been solved. The focus would have to remain strictly on the service personnel. That would be the mature path. But the Sussex narrative rarely allows maturity to stay simple. The deeper problem is that Harry appears to have lost control of the story he wanted to tell. He may have imagined this trip as a reset, a chance to appear serious, charitable, and connected to causes. Instead, the trip has reinforced every criticism people already had. The planning looked chaotic, the security argument looked inconsistent, the palace relationship looked broken, the legal strategy looked disastrous. The response to defeat looked petulant. Meghan's absence looked revealing. Invictus was overshadowed.
For blood.
Yeah, also, unless I've missed it, Meghan's been deafeningly quiet.
Well, isn't she always when Harry's in trouble?
Yeah.
Doesn't she always disappear when Harry's in an uncomfortable
she has
situation?
Disappeared miles away. But if because
but Friday, the day that they were technically supposed to give Buckingham, instead of contacting Buckingham Palace Friday and letting them know that they would or would not be staying there, Friday was the deadline. Instead of doing that, Liam, Harry and Meghan's communications person, sent to the exclusive WhatsApp chat, which is just the elite that, give Harry and Meghan positive attention.
That is why some observers now describe Harry as defeated. Not because one lost court case destroys a man, but because the case crystallized a pattern. Harry keeps creating storms and then standing inside them as if he does not know where the weather came from. He fights the press, then needs the press to cover Invictus. He complains about privacy, then brings private family material into public life. He asks for reconciliation, then criticizes the institutions connected to his father. He wants security, then lets travel plans become public. He wants sympathy, then turns every setback into someone else's fault. At some point, the public begins to ask whether the problem is really everyone else. This is where the comparison with Catherine becomes so powerful. Catherine has had every reason to ask for sympathy. She has faced illness, public speculation, online conspiracy theories, media pressure, and the burden of returning to duty in front of a watching world. But she has not built her public role around complaint. She has allowed the work to speak. That does not mean she has no pain. It means she has discipline. Discipline is what Harry seems to lack at the moments when he needs it most. The court judgment was a moment that called for discipline. The Buckingham Palace confusion called for discipline. The security question called for discipline. Invictus called for discipline.
But he sent to the WhatsApp group a very a very thick itinerary that included Meghan Markle, included some engagements, not royal because she's not royal, but some engagements with Meghan Markle. And so Friday they send out this itinerary to this very small group of journalists that aren't as critical as others.
Yeah.
Saturday, The Sun reports that Ravik has decided that Harry is not going to have any special privileges, no armed guards. He will have some.
Instead, the week became a rolling display of reaction. The contrast is not simply good royal versus bad royal. It is about two different ways of handling pressure. Catherine absorbs pressure and turns outward towards service. William absorbs pressure and turns toward duty, his children, and the future. Charles absorbs pressure and tries to keep the institution moving. Camilla absorbs pressure and continues her own work. Harry absorbs pressure and often turns it into another public dispute. That is why the public is responding differently now. A few years ago, there was still widespread sympathy for Harry and Meghan. Many people understood why they wanted a different life. Many people were willing to hear their version of events. Many people believed there had been real pain behind the scenes. But sympathy has limits. It weakens when the same grievances are repeated without resolution. It weakens when private material is monetized. It weakens when every setback becomes someone else's fault. The public mood has shifted from concern to fatigue. That fatigue is dangerous because it affects everything Harry touches. Even a worthy event like Invictus becomes filtered through the question of whether Harry is bringing drama with him. Even a potential meeting with his father becomes filtered through suspicion about briefing. Even a visit to Diana's resting place.
He has, and also with the court ruling going so horribly wrong for him, that has also distracted because it now flows all the focus on why has he done that. And then what he goes and does, he criticizes the British justice system, of which his father is a sort of, you know, I don't know what the term is.
I mean, it's the King's Court. It's the King's Court.
So therefore, he's now saying that everyone's against me. You've got to stop playing.
Becomes filtered through speculation about future content. Once that level of suspicion exists, it is very hard to undo. The press now has a different posture too. The Associated Newspaper's judgment gives journalists a reason to feel bolder. It does not mean the press can behave recklessly. It does not erase the history of tabloid misconduct, but it does remind everyone that allegations require evidence and that old-fashioned reporting is not automatically unlawful. That matters for Harry because he has often treated the press as a hostile machine, yet he also needs that same machine. He needs coverage for Invictus. He needs attention for his causes. He needs selected journalists to carry briefings about security, travel, and family meetings. He needs the media when the story is useful, but he condemns it when the story turns against him. That contradiction was visible throughout this trip. If the Sussex team sent detailed information to friendly or selected journalists, then Harry cannot pretend the press is merely an enemy outside the gates. If the trip was briefed in advance, then he cannot complain that everyone is watching. If his team wants police to manage media crowds, then the media presence has already been invited into the story by the way the trip was handled.
You don't know how to shut up, right? He doesn't.
No.
And he goes and said it's a whitewash. So he's criticizing. This is a respected judge. It was a 460-page document. It wasn't something he just sort of went, oh, I don't like what happened. Here's 2 pages.
Yeah.
Every one of the charges that was summing up, and every one of the charges that pertained to Harry, most damning of all, he said he's tried to extemporize his evidence. And as the judge said, you were trying to influence by your position.
That does not mean Harry deserves harassment. It means public strategy has consequences. The same is true of Meghan. Her silence during difficult Harry moments is not just read as absence because people dislike her. It is read that way because the Sussex brand has long emphasized visible partnership. When the couple want to present unity, they do so clearly. When the story is glamorous, Meghan can be very visible. So when she disappears during Harry's most bruising moments, the public naturally asks why. If she had appeared beside him, it might have softened the image. It might have suggested that whatever else is happening, the marriage remains publicly united. But it also might have turned the entire Invictus build-up into a Meghan story. Photographs, outfits, body language, security, whether she would meet the king, whether she would go to Althorpe, whether the children were nearby, all of that would have swallowed the cause. That is the impossible Sussex equation. Meghan's presence distracts. Meghan's absence also distracts. And that is why Harry's causes suffer. The conversation rarely stays where it should. Invictus should not have to carry the weight of a marriage narrative. It should not have to compete with Buckingham Palace drama. It should not have to explain legal judgments. It should not have to become a stage for whether Meghan is supporting her husband or protecting herself.
Than sticking to the facts. And he did say, well, this is something that happens quite a lot. People try and think they can put their case without just sticking to what was the nub and the gist and the brouhaha of this court case, and just stick to that evidence. But instead, no, he said, well, look at me, I'm Harry, and of course I must be right.
Also, and why did he bring up his wife, who he met years after the last article was written? You know, totally irrelevant to the case, always looking. Again, Rupert, I go back, I just feel like this was an entire setup so that they could reposition themselves.
Harry's defenders may say that all public figures face distractions. That is true. But Harry has amplified his own distractions. Spare, Netflix, Oprah, the security cases, the press cases, the accusations, the statements, the briefings. These did not happen to him entirely from the outside. He chose much of this battlefield, and now the battlefield follows him. The working royals seem to have learned how to avoid that trap. They do not need to answer every provocation because their work is not dependent on provocation. Catherine's Three Peaks challenge was not an argument with Meghan. It was a fundraiser and a personal act of service. William's engagements are not rebuttals to Harry. They are part of his preparation for kingship. Charles in military settings and Camilla with literary or children's causes are not anti-Sussex messaging by themselves. They are monarchy functioning as monarchy. That is why the optics are so effective. The family does not have to say, we are stable. They demonstrate it. The Sussexes, meanwhile, keep saying they want peace, while creating conditions that make peace almost impossible. A peaceful visit would not need a rolling public itinerary. A sincere family reconciliation would not need media pressure.
Because we've talked over the last few months about this evolution, the anti-Semitism article that he wrote, showing up in the Ukraine and challenging President Trump, Putin. You know, he's definitely trying to position himself as an authority on anything, authority on something, and an authority on anything. And here's a judge saying, I don't think you're very credible. You know, no. I think that's a knock on him. But we also have, you know, a £50,000 debt that has to be settled for Associated Papers lawyers. And it's my understanding it will be split between some of these cases. Perhaps should not have been included in this because of the statute of limitations. And if the insurance company decides that that was on the lawyers, that they did something inappropriate or that they presented something they shouldn't have that might have cost them the case, the insurance company can refuse to pay out the claim.
Well, exactly. And David Sherburn does not come cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of the most expensive lawyers out there. You know, he's a sort of showbiz lawyer, basically. He loves being the center of attention. Well, this is the first time that, you know, he has the ability.
A private concern about security would not be briefed into public drama. A serious charity tour would keep the cause first. This trip did the opposite. It created a situation where every institution involved had to react. Buckingham Palace, the Home Office, the press, the courts, the Metropolitan Police, Invictus, the wider royal family, and the public. That is an extraordinary amount of institutional turbulence around one man's visit. The question for Harry is whether he understands that if he sees this week only as another example of people failing him, then nothing will change. He will continue believing the palace is cold, the press is hostile, the court is unfair, the government is unreasonable, and the public misunderstands him. But if he sees the pattern, then this week could become a turning point. It could teach him that public pressure does not create trust. It could teach him that legal battles do not build a future. It could teach him that charitable work must be protected from personal drama. It could teach him that family reconciliation cannot be forced through headlines. It could teach him that the royal family is no longer willing to bend around him. But those lessons require humility, and humility is hard when a person has built an identity around being wronged. There is still a way out.
He doesn't know how much longer his father has to live. Meghan disappeared. I mean, I need to think of more examples because I've had this conversation already today, and I apologize. But, you know, where was she when he was being tormented over some very specific chapters of Spare? You know, he became a punchline on late night TV. Meghan disappears. When things aren't going their way, I don't think she'll be at Invictus on Friday. Harry's team's still teasing that she might be. I don't think she will, because I don't think she wants to be on the arm of a loser.
And I think that at the moment, he looks a loser and a beaten man, because the spotlight should be on Harry, announcing the fact that in a year's time, competitors, you know, we saw Harry giving something to the members of the Ugandan delegation who will be competing there next year, doing the work around promoting it, which he's good at.
Yeah.
But he's much better at it when he's on his own.
Oh, 100%.
Because he doesn't get distracted, and the story, because inevitably Meghan will turn up in a white dress so that she can be photographed.
And then she'll change 3 times throughout the day. I want to ask you something, though, based on what you're saying. I spoke to Russell Myers from The Mirror.
But it is narrow. Harry would need to stop escalating. He would need to accept the judgment without more theatrical language. He would need to separate Invictus from Sussex drama. He would need to make any family contact private and disciplined. He would need to stop using the press as both enemy and instrument. He would need to stop allowing Meghan's possible attendance, the children's possible travel, and royal accommodation to become public leverage. Most of all, he would need to become boring for a while. That may be exactly what he needs. Boring would be healing. Boring would mean fewer legal updates, fewer statements, fewer leaks, fewer dramatic claims, fewer symbolic battles, and more actual work. Boring would mean letting veterans be the story, letting his children have a private childhood, letting his father have peace, letting William and Catherine get on with the future, letting Meghan build something that does not need royal drama every few weeks. But boring does not sell as easily as conflict. That is the Sussex dilemma. The royal family, by contrast, showed this week that steady service still has power. Catherine at Wimbledon. Catherine with children facing illness. William at a Welsh language school. Charles and Camilla carrying out duties. The working royals showing up, doing the work, and letting the public see continuity. That is why this week may be remembered not only as another Harry crisis.
There were a lot of last-minute changes which had to involve Meghan.
That we're catering to her.
We're catering to her.
And guess what? We heard the same thing with Senabale.
Yeah.
Dr. Sophie Shandaka saying all of a sudden we had to change venues because Harry and Meghan wanted to bring the Netflix cameras. All of a sudden Meghan and Serena Williams were coming. That created a huge security problem. All of a sudden we needed a VIP space for them. You're right. When Meghan comes, so does a whole slew of new assignments.
Yeah, and it meant he was a much more relaxed individual because he didn't have to worry about the circus. He could just worry about what he was good at, which is interacting with the service people who are competing there, and it's their story. Because inevitably, when she's there, it no longer becomes the story about the competitors at the Invictus Games. And that's what it should always be about. It should be about promoting and championing these brave people who often put their bodies on the line on behalf of their respective countries. And the resilience of continuing to want to live, want to fight,
There's a study in 2 very different royal realities. One reality is stable, disciplined, and future-facing. The other is noisy, reactive, and trapped in old battles. Harry came to Britain with a chance to remind people of the best parts of his public life. Instead, the worst parts followed him everywhere. And until he understands that, every trip, every case, every cause, and every attempt at reconciliation will risk ending the same way, overshadowed by the drama he says he wants to escape.
Okay, he was in Afghanistan, but then we didn't have to hear all about it. And I know he was frustrated that he couldn't, I think in the second tour, be a more active soldier, because obviously there again, you know, it would be great propaganda if something had happened to him for the other side. So it is a very difficult situation for a member of the royal family when they do join the armed forces. You know, think about Andrew. He was on the front line during the Falklands War against Argentina in the 80s. He was flying a helicopter, but he was out there doing his bit, which is celebrating
if I were the royal family, I'd send Beatrice and Eugenie.
Well, no, but I also think for the service people who are there competing,
I know what you're saying. And
it would mean more.
You're being very mature about this.
If the king should be there.
Oh, but you know our audience is gonna.
No,
You're being too mature right now.
Well, I'm a little older than you.
I know exactly what you're saying. It would be so meaningful to these people that have sacrificed so much.
They would want them there. And the royal family in these circumstances.
But